Welcome to the 16th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Sports Director Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest analyst each week. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona, ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
All righty, welcome inside another edition of the NitWits. The panel is all here, including Joe Nastasi. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you.
We've got Neil Riddell from the Altoona Mirror, and of course Mark Brennan from FightOnState.com. We're going to break down Penn State getting back into the win column, a 45-21 win over Purdue. We'll talk about it in depth throughout the next half hour. But, guys, let's open it up as we generally do here on Sunday evenings and just get some general thoughts on the game on Saturday.
Go ahead. You're the nitwit of the week.
Oh, my God, we've already unveiled it.
Listen, they went in with a great game plan, I thought, to run the ball offensively, and they ran the ball very effectively. That offensive line, to me, was really the star of the game collectively. Defensively, they were a little up and down at times, but they started blitzing, got a lot of pressure on that quarterback. And I thought, hey, as usual, that was a nice bounce-back win for this team, albeit against a pretty poor opponent.
Yeah, I like the fact they've gotten away from the run a couple times this year, and it's hurt them, particularly in the red zone against Minnesota and against Indiana. And I think what you saw yesterday is a statement of what you're going to see the rest of the way here, because I think this is what they're going to need. And I also think that the more deliberate offense helped the defense and kind of pace the game for a defense that has now put together a decent stretch.
Yeah, Joe, Neil just mentioned the red zone, very efficient for Penn State. Third down conversions as well. What did you notice?
Yeah, it was good top to bottom to see them get a solid win like that. Put 45 up, kind of do what they wanted to do. Again, we were talking earlier about the Purdue special teams kind of keeping them in the game a little bit, but it was a dominating performance top to bottom. There was only one time when Purdue made it a little bit interesting. I believe it was there in the third period it was. And, but again, it was a good win. It was the home team that showed up, as we have been all year. I mean, we've been playing well at home. Just want to see them ride that momentum out and get another one here before we end it here towards the end of the year.
It's been interesting. You don't like to throw the word inconsistent around, but it's win-loss. It's been win-loss since week 2 of the season. So Penn State gets back into the win column. Some of the things we noticed, third down. Penn State was struggling coming into this game on third down and kind of made a statement and converted 10 of 12 on Saturday against Purdue. That was a big moment for them.
Well, when you get them in more manageable positions.
Right.
I mean, again, when we're behind the chains early in games, you're talking third and longs, it makes that percentages really different to whenever you're working the ball down the field, able to run the ball and not abandon a run.
That's a great point because I was talking at halftime actually with Jacob Cowker about that. When you're not in third and long situations, when you're getting better performances on first and second down, you can convert, obviously, more third downs.
Maybe it helps the morale of the team.
You don't throw that around like cheeseburgers.
Hold on a second.
You got a cheeseburger.
Yes, you do throw it around. You throw morale around like a cheeseburger. Go ahead, right there.
O'Brien in paradise.
There you go.
Smells good, actually.
Yeah, for those who missed it, Bill O'Brien kind of took umbrage at the fact that Dave Jones of the Patriot News said, how much does the running game help your morale? And I actually got what Dave was getting at. I thought they did look like like they were playing with a little more zip in their step and confidence. And O'Brien like really, no, the morale of this team's fine. But I thought in that game, the running game, as Joe said, got them into great positions on second and third down, and it did overall help the morale of the offense. And I think conversely, that's, when we talk about this complementary football all the time, I think that helps the kind of the morale and everything of the defense.
Yeah, and when you obviously Bill was not pleased with how the Minnesota game went. He was probably more down after that game than I think we had seen him. And he kind of got to the press conference with a little bit of an edge. Apparently there was something said in the Purdue club in the midweek that they used as motivation to fire them up. And he challenged the offensive line, and Zwinak has had 2 good games now, 2 straight good games.
We'll talk a little bit more about that run game. I want to mention the defense real quick too. Up and down, I guess you could say, but they came up with some big plays. And other than a couple drives, the scoring drives that the Boilermaker offense had, I mean, they put a lot of pressure on Etling. They forced some turnovers, which was big, and through the end, I mean, 14 points was really all they allowed.
Yeah, Amos had, one of his better games. He had a couple sacks. I thought they came after him. They had 6 sacks, sent some corners, sent some linebackers.
Yeah, one of the things that I always notice about our team, this is top to bottom, is regardless of record, who we're playing, what we're doing, these guys come out, O'Brien's guys are playing hard. I mean, and you can really appreciate that. Whatever the score was, there's just not a lot of quit. Really a compliment to the staff and what they do up there just by getting these guys to come down and play every game, every down, which is important.
There were some weak spots on defense, obviously, as you mentioned, KC, but the key to me, when they start creating turnovers, boy, that's so big. And just something, again, that's something they haven't done consistently. Generally, when they've lost, they've not been able to get those takeaways. And whenever you can do that, whenever you can get those takeaways, just huge. Deion Barnes, nice to see him make an appearance and make a real big play in that game.
Jordan Lucas again. I mean, comes up with the pick again. I mean, he's been really the most consistent player on the defense. I mean, other than Allen Robinson, maybe overall, he started every game, and he's came up with big plays. Did so again on Saturday. Yeah,
for sure in the secondary. Since they moved Amos and Lucas, it seems like they've solidified those corners.
Yeah, not so much the safety positions though.
Right. Have you noticed the celebration after the big plays that?
You know what?
Lucas
maybe
does?
I wasn't paying attention. I don't know what
he's been doing it the last. And I talked to him after the game.
I was there. That was good.
It's the. He calls it a selfie. He's taking a selfie.
He's taking a selfie picture.
And then you'll see Malcolm Willis come in and kind of do this. And Malcolm's taking a picture of Jordan with the selfie.
Okay, have a little bit
Pretty
of fun.
cool stuff.
So how many people in our audience know what a selfie is?
Yeah. Google it. Google it. The power of Google.
You grew up in the era where that was borderline rapture.
Let me tell you something. When we were there, that would have got your butt sat down for 2 weeks.
Terrell Golden gave the Virginia Forever sign, and you didn't see it for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I was going to say that they wouldn't throw it to you anymore.
While we have a second, though, I want to get some thoughts from maybe Coach O'Brien later this week on that. What do you think about celebrations overall? After the game, talking to Amos and Lucas, it's kind of a sign when you're having those celebrations, it means you're probably making a big play. So that's kind of a good thing. But overall, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the spontaneous, but I don't like the premeditated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because momentum's such a critical part of any sport, let alone college football. Having fun, momentum, but the premeditated where we all sit around and say, this is what I'm going to do as soon as I make a catch. Right. That's too much. Like what a lot of guys, what the guys are doing in the NFL, that's too much. I think it's just too played out.
Yeah.
But the spontaneous, I'm all for it.
And as well as Lucas played, he also had a shot at 2 other interceptions.
He did.
And he was the first to admit that he could have done it. And the other thing about the celebrations, I would say, is generally with these Penn State guys, it's usually a couple guys. It's teammates kind of congratulating each other and stuff. And that, to me, is more genuine than any of this stuff that we see some other places.
We got to step out quickly, guys. Take our first break of the show. We'll talk some Penn State special teams coming up, as well as the run game. We'll go a little bit more in-depth on that. It was Zach Swinak's turn to have the big week. We'll talk about that coming up.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental.
I'm Ty Howell from your Penn State Nittany Lions, and you're watching the NitWits.
All right, Ty, we mentioned the offensive line. That first block had a pretty consistent day on Saturday as Penn State down Purdue to get back into the win column, and kind of along the lines of the offensive line, they were opening up some big holes for the Penn State tailbacks. And, guys, it's been kind of an odd year for the tailbacks in general. It seems just as one guy gets the upper hand, the next guy comes through. The fumbling issue as well, kind of between Bill Belton and Zach Zwinak. That's why I said kind of tossing to break. It was Zach Zwinak's turn on Saturday. He had another big game there. What have you seen from the running game overall?
Well, I mean, Zwinak makes so many yards after contact, and I think Belton is getting better in the open field. But the bottom line is they got to quit dropping the ball.
They do.
I mean, the team has fumbled 18 times this year, and it's going to get them beat in one of these last two games if they continue to fumble the ball. They have to protect it better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but here we are, heading into the last couple games of the season, and these two guys have not both brought their A game in the same game. Because if they do, it could be unreal. I mean, if you would think if these guys could hold on to the ball, I mean, they were very close yesterday, both guys going over 100 yards, probably could have done it if they needed to. But both of these guys are good backs. I think they complement each other real well. But again, you keep putting the ball on the ground, that's real trouble.
And Bill O'Brien has said that the fumbles haven't necessarily dictated who is playing. He's more going with the hot hand. Yeah. Would you buy that, or is this just kind of a coincidence that, when Belton fumbles, Zwinak has the big days? Or, I mean, for example, Minnesota, Belton fumbles in the first play of the game, and he goes right back to Belton the next series.
Yeah, it's a trust issue. I get the hot hand. I like the 2-3 backs. I think it's really good. I mean, it's just good to keep those guys fresh. But I would say yes and no. I mean, again, we're not in that room with them to decide on that. But you watch them play, and then the fumbles. I stressed this before. When you talk about it, becomes an issue now, as because it's more mental than it is physical. Those guys are all strong; they can hold on to the ball. It just becomes more of a mental issue when it's saying, "Hey, don't fumble it." It's just like telling a kid, "Hey, don't use your phone." They use it anyway. So.
How would they handle this moving forward? I mean, that came up on Saturday a little bit in the post-game presser with Bill O'Brien. Is how you kind of handle these guys.
Well, I mean, again, I think that even though you have to make it a point, you can't keep stressing it to them. I mean, like, hold on to it, don't, as opposed to get out there and be an athlete. You know what you're doing. Hold on to the ball and take care of business.
It wouldn't surprise me if Zwinak has started this week because Belton's fumbled now 3 straight games. And when Zwinak fumbled, he went to Belton. So I think he's juggled that and still gotten a lot of production out of the position.
And that doesn't mean that you don't. That's the thing that's kind of been pretty unique about this run game, is that doesn't mean just because Zwinak would be the starter that you don't see Belton. He does move them in and out, and they both seem to have success.
Yeah, and he said he likes both of these guys, but there is an element of frustration. I'm putting words in his mouth there, but it's got to be very difficult. And the other thing, going back to Joe's point, this isn't something where in the middle of the season you could start doing different drills and stuff in practice. Right. You're just so far out. So maybe in the offseason, do they look at trying to do some different things? I don't know. But at this point, that's got to be very difficult for them to be kind of dealing with, because it is, as Joe said, mental.
Plus, Zwinak hurt his hand in the blue-white game. He still had it wrapped yesterday in ice afterwards. I think that's been a contributing.
Let's get some thoughts on the special teams. Nittany Lions allowed that big kickoff return on Saturday late in the first half and pulled Purdue within 14. Kind of a two-part question, if you will, because we haven't talked about the special teams much this year. But Penn State's near the bottom in both kickoff and punt coverage, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But also, are they getting enough from the return game? Geno Lewis, Jesse Della Valle, and company. Joe, what have you seen from kind of both aspects of special teams and kickoff and punts?
Our return game over the past how many years has not been great. I mean, it just doesn't seem like we get the electrifying guy back there. Not exactly sure why. Again, we're not there in the rooms or at practices watching, but it just doesn't seem like we have, return-wise, the guys that have been able to get it done like some of these other squads have, where they use it as a big change offensive play. Where we're going with that, I'm not sure. Maybe we need a little bit more depth in those positions so that we're not using our starters where they're important, like
I think they have been using walk-ons or former walk-ons, and the one thing they've done well on the punt, because we go back to Calvin Lowry, who was a great safety, but he also fumbled a ton. These kids are catching the ball. Yeah, so I give them that. You got to do that first.
The punt team, there's so many walk-ons out there that these guys when they're catching the ball, they very rarely have much running room. I mean, the Garrity kid had a little bit of running room and got 9 yards. And so I think their thing with the punt return is just get somebody back there who's going to catch it. Now, kickoff return is a different story. I like Geno Lewis, and I think he's going to be a good receiver, but he just doesn't seem to me to be the electrifying.
Doesn't have that burst.
Yeah, he's more of a straight ahead, kind of. And so I don't know what the answer is there. But I will say that overall their special teams, the coverage stuff, wow.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about the returns. That's the Band-Aid. The tourniquet is the coverage.
Well, and then you have you have a fake punt where, everybody in the stadium's yelling, watch the fake. Right. I mean, it was like the perfect time for it, and they were able to pull it off.
If it wouldn't have been for Ficken, they might have had 2 kickoff returns.
And that score could have been 31-28. That could have been a real game changer.
A heck of a tackle.
Yeah, it was. I mean, but again, I think this is where you see a little bit more of us being lighter on the scholarship end of it, where we just don't have enough of those scholarship guys that are younger, hungry to play. You're maybe filling in, I hate to use that word, but filling in maybe a little bit more where you're trying to get some. You can't have all these starters out there getting nicked up on special teams. There's a lot of big collisions.
Well, what Bill O'Brien said, though, afterward, which I liked, it's almost like an NFL coach. He said, hey, you know what, on the kickoff coverage, we're going to have to look at personnel and maybe get some people who are a little hungrier in there. Maybe eat a few cheeseburgers.
I was going to say, what cures the appetite are some cheeseburgers.
Throw them around.
That's it, definitely. We'll step out, take another break. What seems to be a hot issue every year, the attendance at Beaver Stadium. We'll get the guys' thoughts on the other side about that coming up.
The NitWits are brought to you by the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal.
Defensive tackle Devin Steele. You're watching the NitWits.
Devin Steele. Good stuff right there. Welcome back. Guys, an announced crowd of 96,491 for the Purdue game on Saturday. We were just saying in the break, though, it was actually a pretty good crowd. Probably not that much, but what have your thoughts been on the crowd at Beaver Stadium overall this year?
Well, this is a progression that's, when you add up, it's probably a separate show. From the STEP program to Joe's departure to the scandal. I think they need to get back to the family atmosphere and create a kids ticket in those upper decks over these next couple of years and bring the family atmosphere and the affordability back.
I will say that I think this reflects much more on the STEP program and just kind of the changing dynamic in football, where it's a lot easier for people to sit at home and watch it on a big, giant, 70-inch high definition TV than it does on any of this scandal stuff. I think this would have been happening anyway. For this particular game, I was actually kind of impressed by the turnout. Given the opponent, given that you have senior day next week, I think this is kind of the new normal at Penn State. And when you have these sorts of crowds in mid-November, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, with the bigger games, it's pretty easy. But remember, again, what do we have? We have 107,000 for capacity. So, when we have a huge crowd for anywhere else, it's going to look a little smaller there. So, I mean, again, Purdue, November, not a lot of people came up maybe, or whatever you want to call it. But again, I think it just has to do with the size of our stadium as opposed to maybe the people.
Nice touch on the honorary coin flip.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Still one more chance for the fans to get down to Beaver Stadium. Nebraska up next for the home finale coming up next weekend. The start time has been announced for that. We'll reveal that to you, plus we'll reveal our nitwit of the week. I guess it's kind of already been revealed, but yes, we heard you, Mark.
I broke that story.
Stay with us.
The NitWits are brought to you by The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
I'm Jordan Lucas from your Penn State Nittany Lions, and you are watching the NitWits.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Nitwits. Nebraska up next. We got a little over a minute here for our picks and our Nitwit of the week. Let's start with the Nitwit of the week. I think we all know
Have to.
Yeah, except for last week when
Protocol.
Neil was. You know, I'm really going back and forth on this one, but Penn State's usually been really good in senior day games, and they're playing a team that doesn't have a great passing attack. So I'm going to go Penn State 28-24.
2024, Neil, you want to go next?
Uh-oh. I can see the
This
wheels.
happened to me last week. I believe in the will of this team. I think they've been really strong-willed. It does go back to the Joe era with senior day, but I think you saw a preview of committing to the run. I'm going to say 30-24 Penn State.
Joe.
You know, I was gonna be around in that, but I don't want to do that. I'm gonna say a little bit more scoring. I think both defenses are a little susceptible here, so let's go 38-34 Penn State.
38-34.
That's right.
I picked against
Big Ten
Penn
shootout.
State in the Michigan game at home, and that was the most thrilling win we've seen in a long time. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to pick against Penn State at home or on senior day or against a team like Nebraska. I think Penn State wins at 33-30. I think
We're all over the board.
we're all good. But
Low, high.
Sounds good. Hey, that's a 3:30 kick. We want to remind you we'll be right back here on the Nitwits following that game next Sunday. We hope you can join us for the panel on Casey Cans.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona, ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the Nitwits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.